James O'Keefe is right. Project Veritas is right. The New York Times knowingly and with reckless disregard lied about Project Veritas in a coordinated disinformation campaign and then said he was doing it. Watch. I'll show you some short videos. They're about 3 minutes each, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about them. All right, let's see. I think this is the first one right here.
The New York Times just filed an answer to our defamation lawsuit, and it is a doozy. And now the New York Times has requested a jury trial as we barrel towards discovery. You all know by now that Project Veritas has won on motion to dismiss against the New York Times for defamation. The New York Times printing an original article saying we are part of a coordinated disinformation campaign, that we were deceptive. The New York Times defense was that their statements there were, quote, unverifiable expressions of opinion. The judge in New York saying to the New York Times that they were the ones engaged in deception and disinformation, interjecting their opinion in an A-section news article. Now the New York Times has to reply to all of the allegations that we made in our complaint. The New York Times forced to answer our allegations in this answer filed in court just last week. The New York Times either had to admit the allegations, deny the allegations, or claim ignorance. Want to take a guess which one of those was a favorite of the New York Times?
Ding, ding, ding! What do we have for her, Johnny?
All throughout this answer, the New York Times keeps saying the New York Times lacks knowledge or information to form a belief as to the truth of the allegation. Over and over again throughout this answer to our allegations, they feigned ignorance no fewer than 40 times in their answer, claiming they, quote, lack knowledge and information.
How about that? How about that? So this is big, right? So the New York Times is saying, oh, it was just an opinion. No, it was actually, and the judge said this, it was actually on your news section of the paper. It wasn't just opinion. The significance behind this is tremendous because we live in a time where social media, which used to be social media, now it is Gatekeeper Media. Very important to understand that. We used to have news media. Now we have marketing media, because 90% of the news media outlets have been bought up by 6 corporations. Did you get that? They did all this so that they could turn the news media into the marketing media, so they could sell their political ideas and shape the way we see things. And with their partners in big tech, they're gatekeepers to information we can see. And they cite the New York Times. Well, the New York Times says, yeah, but the New York Times is a big fat liar. How about that? So this is huge. And I pray, I really do, I pray that the judge and the jury, it's a jury that'll decide. And that's big. You have the right to ask for a jury, even in civil cases. And he did. So a jury will decide. And in a civil case, it only requires a preponderance of evidence. That means more than not. And what he has to prove is that the New York Times knew that they weren't telling the truth and did it with reckless disregard. That's why this is important. So let's get back to this, and I'll show you the next segment from the very courageous James O'Keefe and Project Veritas.
Things as basic as, what did Liban Mohammed say in his Snapchat video? We had said in our lawsuit, Mr. Mohammed displayed a vast number of ballots littering his car's dashboard while boasting in Somali.
Numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. Wajida gaarigaygu waa buuxaa. Waxaas waa absent ballot salka yaala. Soo ma jeedin.
This is from our lawsuit. In another video, Mr. Mohammed filmed himself exiting an apartment complex with his hands stuffed with voters' ballots, boasting, 2 in the morning, still hustling. These are not hard things for the Times to have figured out. We didn't even film Liban Mohammed. He filmed himself, and one of our sources captured it. Turns out the New York Times simply, quote, lacks knowledge and information, unquote. Who'da thunk it? The Times' own policy effectively requires New York Times reporters and journalists to reach out to subjects for comment, and the New York Times admits that they didn't do that. Quote, New York Times admits that Ms. Astor, her editors, and the New York Times did not reach out to Mr. Muhammad for comment. The New York Times, all you had to do was pick up the phone and call him, and Muhammad would have said, that was me, that was my Snapchat, and I recorded myself. But you didn't do that. And maybe you didn't do it because if you did do it, you'd have to publish that it was real. But what you put in your A-section news article, you said that we were, quote, making claims without evidence. You didn't even pick up the damn phone and make a phone call. And you call yourself journalists. The New York Times also admits that it didn't reach out to Mr. Jamal, who was one of our sources. Also happens to be one of the New York Times' sources, by the way. They selectively edited that out of their article. They didn't reach out to Mr. Alwood, who is a subject featured in our video. They didn't reach out to any of these people. The only people that the New York Times reached out to was those people who supported the narrative that they wanted to tell.
Wow. Holy shnikes. That's journalistic malpractice. You know, this really punctuates how legacy news outlets have become really marketing media, like I told you. And that's the way to understand it. It's not just that they're liberals anymore, and they're really not even liberals anymore. They are neo-fascist progressives. They're not liberals. They don't believe in the Fourth Amendment right to be free from searches and seizures. They don't believe in free speech. At least, you know, a quarter of a century ago when I got serious about these issues, at least they were those things. I agreed with them on many of those things. Now they are neo-fascist leftists, progressives. So yeah, it's marketing media, and they wrote the story and they didn't even check any sources. It didn't even ask. You don't do that. That's not journalism. That's propaganda. You know, if they wanted to know, they could have simply looked, right? Remember, there's nothing like looking if you want to find something. That's what makes all of the Bolshevik that I see on Facebook's fact checkers. Well, there is no evidence showing that there was election interference. Are you nuts? No evidence. What are you? I hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. There's nothing like looking if you want to find something. I'll tell you a quick story. In the 80s, in Ronald Reagan's second campaign, he was going to draw a candidate, Gary Hart. Gary Hart was the favored Democrat candidate. This is in 84. And Gary Hart was a player. He liked the ladies. And the media started asking him about this. This is back when reporters, yeah, they were Democrats, most of them, but they actually cared about the craft. And moreover, the subscribers, they wanted the truth. And that's where they got their money. They had to please the subscribers back in the day. They always have to please somebody. And back then it was the subscribers. So Gary Hart said, I'm not seeing that. Her name was Rice. Something Rice, I believe, right? I'm not seeing that lady. What are you talking about? These crazy accusations. I'm not seeing her. And if you think I am, follow me. You'll be bored if you do. They did. And they caught him. They caught him. They didn't say, well, we have no evidence that Gary Hart is seeing this lady. He said so. All right? There's no evidence. It's a baseless claim. One of the most important characteristics in journalism is curiosity. If you see somebody purporting to be a journalist and they're not asking questions, but they're trying to explain why they're right, well, actually, you do need to take the vaccine. Experts say, and then they start giving you all the reasons. That's not reporting. What reporters ought to be doing is asking more experts, other people, and reporting what they find out. But they're not curious. They're determined. They're determined to change the way you think. It's propaganda. And it's repugnant to my craft of journalism. And I take it damn serious, because there's nothing like they knew in '84 when Gary Hart said, I'm not doing that. There's nothing like looking if you want to find something. But they're not looking, are they? There's a reason for that. All right, back to Project Veritas.
Tell. And speaking of only reporting the narrative they wanted to tell, remember how the New York Times said that I was part of a, quote, coordinated disinformation campaign, at least in part because I embargoed the material with people who had a platform that could publicize these videos, people like Mike Lindell. I met with him. I shared with him an advanced copy of our journalism. The Times now admits that Maggie Astor, wait for it, she was given an embargoed copy of this election integrity report. The New York Times did the very thing they accused us of. If that's considered, quote, disinformation campaign or a coordinated disinformation campaign, then the New York Times would be engaging in a coordinated disinformation campaign by doing embargoed copies of things right before they're published. It's asinine. It's irrational. It's outrageous. It's defamation is what it is. Or as the prominent Canadian vlogger has stated, it's just plain old projection, Dean Baquet.
Remember what we always say on this channel, hashtag confession through projection, because it looks like that is exactly what the New York Times did themselves.
Now, you had seen that the New York Times defense in their motion to dismiss was the statements by Maggie Astor were, quote, unverifiable expressions of opinion, unquote. In this answer, the New York Times admits that Maggie Astor is, quote, not an opinion writer for the New York Times, and that Tiffany Shu is a news reporter, and that, quote, her article was published in the media news section of the Times, unquote, and not in any opinion section. Britt Hume, legendary journalist, tweeted this out the other day, quote, one of the remarkable things about this case is that not only did the New York Times acknowledge the reporters injected their opinions in a news story, they made that part of their defense. The staggering implications of the New York Times defense, that it was mere opinion what they were writing, when USA Today uses the New York Times as their fact-checking mechanism. Camille Caldera at USA Today, researchers claim video is part of a coordinated disinformation campaign based upon what people, quote, told the New York Times, and Facebook relies upon USA Today to send a notification to tens of millions of people saying that there was, quote, false information in the video. Do you understand how damaging this has been to Project Veritas and to the truth? What do you think a jury is going to do when presented with this evidence, Mr. Dean Baquet?
I can't wait to see that. This is one of the few times that a public figure could actually win a defamation case, because it meets the standard of actual malice. The New York Times knew it wasn't true, but the New York Times continued to say it with reckless disregard and present it as fact in the news section of the paper. And what they accused him of is what they were doing. Have you been seeing a lot of that lately? Projection. Been seeing a lot of projection. It's gaslighting. And I don't fall for it. I absolutely don't fall for it. And by the way, one of the best ways to deal with a gaslighter, somebody who's projecting, somebody who says, you know, that there's no evidence of election tampering. I like to say, looks like we've got an election fraud denier. They don't know what to do because that's what they're used to. I never answer them. If you've ever been in a toxic relationship with somebody who does that to you, a gaslighter, who says, yeah, but you said you were going to be ready at 6 and you never said it. And you think, God, I was really tired and I had the kids and, you know, did I say that? No. So I would never say, I didn't say that. Never get on your heels with a projector or a gaslighter. Put them on their heels, right? So